Let's get more on the biggest transfer news of 2024. It's got absolutely nothing to do with football.
No, one of Formula One's most dominant ever partnerships is coming to an end. Lewis Hamilton is leaving Mercedes at the end of this year to join Ferrari.
Yeah, we get more reaction to this now. We speak to Matt Gallagher as the co-host of the P1 podcast. Matt, thank you so much for coming on today. Come on, what's your reaction to this huge news?
Well, I've been able to sleep on it, and I still can't believe it. It felt like a crazy dream yesterday. The way it progressed from, another rumour of Lewis flirting with Ferrari and vice versa, and you think, it's going to get squashed. And then, more reputable sources start to talk about it. And then all of a sudden, at the end of the day, it's confirmed by both sides. But it just felt so weird. It didn't feel like either side of Mercedes or Ferrari were ready to talk about it. And wildfire rumours then became true.
Why do you think Lewis Hamilton is making this move? Because there's sort of two schools of thought on it, aren't there? Is it because Ferrari, iconic, historic team, and he wants to have that on his CV? Or is it because he doesn't believe that going forward, Mercedes is going to be the place where he can win an 8th title?
It's probably a combination, to be honest with you. He's gone a couple of years now without winning at Mercedes, which, is the smallest violin for a lot of drivers. But for him, that's the standards that he set for himself. So I'm sure the kind of frustrations at Mercedes don't help. And also the allure of Ferrari. He has said previously that he'd love to drive for the team. And perhaps maybe he just sat down one day and went, I'm going to probably regret not going to that Scarlet team. And so he's kind of rolled the dice, really. There's no guarantee that Ferrari are going to be able to deliver him a car that can win a world championship. But he's in the twilight of his career, and I think it's just a nice final page for him to finish his career there. It doesn't necessarily, as I say, mean he's going to get trophies, but it's a roll of a dice. And if he can win a world championship there, my goodness me, his legacy would just be something very, very special indeed.
Yeah, that's a great point. And it's come just weeks after Charles Leclerc signed a new long-term contract with Ferrari, so they'll both be wanting to challenge for wins and titles. Do you think they can work together well, be positive impacts on each other, or can you see a bit of beef between the two? What do you reckon?
That dynamic is going to be really interesting to watch, purely because Charles Leclerc has just signed, for a further however many years with Ferrari, and now he's turned around and gone, wait, so I've got Lewis Hamilton as a teammate now in 2025. Oh, you didn't tell me that part. So I think that might have come as a little bit of a shock for him, because he's supposed to be the number one, the golden boy there. And now he's got a 7-time world champion who has probably as much ambition as Charles to win another world championship. Of course, Charles has yet to win one. So for me, the dynamic's going to be really interesting to watch. Is Charles going to be a little bit more of a tougher character now and start to demand things a little bit more now that Lewis is joining the team? It could be fireworks. As much as you don't really see those two characters potentially clashing, we've seen stranger things.
It's funny as well, there's clips doing the rounds of when Charles Leclerc was asked a few years ago who his dream teammate was, and he said, hi, Lewis, so be careful what you wish for. But, I mean, his wish has come true. In almost all of this, it's almost been forgotten that Carlos Sainz will now be leaving Ferrari at the end of this year. I mean, last season was challenging for him, difficult for him. Is this perhaps a bit harsh on him to be ousted by the 7-time world champion? Where can you see him ending up?
Yeah, I mean, he had ups and downs last year, and he was the only driver at Ferrari to get a win last year. And so I think it's a little bit harsh on him. There's not many drivers, I think, that could have ousted him out of Ferrari. But Lewis Hamilton is kind of an argument that you kind of can't win because he's the statistical greatest of all time. For me, I think Carlos will probably sign to stake for 2025 to then get ready for the rebrand for Audi in 2026, as his father has ties there as well. So that's probably where I can see him going now. But I'm sure he's still hurting a little bit because it was clear that he loves Ferrari and he was performing to a level that was comparable to Charles Leclerc last year. So I do feel sorry for him.
Who into Mercedes then do we think? Who's going to replace Hamilton there?
Oh, my goodness me. Now, that is a bit of a lottery. I can't get the idea out of my head that Fernando Alonso is going to end up there. I just know for a fact he's going to be sitting back, watching all the chaos unfold, just having a little look to see where the opportunities might lie. Of course, Alex Albon is another great shout for that for that seat. He's had ties with Mercedes, and of course he's at Williams at the moment, and that is a sensible promotion. Esteban Ocon, of course, used to be at Mercedes as well in the junior team. He's now moved to Alpine. So there are a few shouts, but for me, I just know that Fernando Alonso is going to be on the phone seeing what's what.
Well, you're aligned with Jenson Button because we've heard from him this morning saying that he'd quite like to see Alonso in that Mercedes. I mean, looking ahead then, I mean, the new season is not far away at all. Car launches and testing right around the corner. How interesting is it going to be watching Lewis Hamilton drive this Mercedes knowing that this is it, this is the last season? Does that add pressure or does that free him up for 2024?
He probably doesn't have many expectations going into this year. It's going to be fascinating to see that team dynamic as well at Mercedes. Of course, you know, he's turned his back on Mercedes now. George, of course, is staying there. What sort of preferential treatment will George receive, if any? Of course, Lewis has an amazing legacy there. I'm sure that Mercedes nor Lewis will want to taint that. So I fully see them being incredibly professional and making sure they execute on every point possible this year. But I reckon if George just gets on the blower and says, excuse me, can I come through? I've got fresher tyres. It might not be as difficult a conversation as perhaps a few years ago.
Oh, it's going to be fascinating to watch. Look, Matt, brilliant to have you on. Thank you for joining us on Good Morning Sports Fans.
Thanks so much.